So, hold on. Okay. We're going to have a good time. All right.
There we go.
Welcome, Matt Herdman.
Hello, Pedro.
How are you, sir?
I am doing good. We just did a little bit of a vocal warm-up, and it took me back to high school theater, doing, like the mommy made me mash my M&Ms, I cried, or like doing the lip trills. Before The Wizard of Oz, did you guys do any of those?
Yes, we did. And then as a bonus, just for you, Matt Herdman, on the YouTube video, I'm going to add it on the end.
Perfect. Make sure you stick around for the entire video. We're going to do some lip trills. You can do them with us.
And do not fast forward. I want you to see the entire interview, and then you can watch,
Pedro will know if you leave and drop out. The analytics will change,
exactly.
So don't be
All
doing
right.
that.
Okay, so you are a returning guest. I had you on 2 years ago, and your topic of the podcast interview, it was what my stutter has taught me, and you were talking about anxiety, some and some OCD. However, in this interview, 2 years later, you have a project, and so
I do have a project.
Yes, and so it's what I tell everybody, like on a daily basis. People who stutter, we are creative, we are resourceful, we are resilient, we are creative. We all have our own different journeys. However, we all have that common denominator. So, all right. So I'm going to ask you the first question from my cards that I had made.
I am so excited for your interview cards. Are they like dry erase cards?
Oh, they are high tech, and I don't have a sponsor yet.
Wait,
However, hint.
You have a soundboard. I love. When you say they're high tech, like, are they digital cards?
They are card stocked, and they have been laser printed. So only the best for my guests. So here's the first question.
Okay, I'm ready. Pedro, you're so much fun. I love it.
The tension is mounting. So here's the first question. So you have a project coming up. So how did this all come about?
For sure. So the project that I have coming up is called Werewolf. Anyone that has ever played the game Among Us, or there's a card game called Mafia, Werewolf is also a card game. It basically involves a informed minority that is working against an uninformed majority, and the minority is trying to get rid of the majority. It's like a secret role game. And my friends and I have played it I've played it since like junior high, and my group of friends and I have played it for like the last 10 years, like several times a year, if not even maybe 15, 20 times a year. I think I've played it over 100 times at least. And so my 30th birthday is this year. And as I've sort of been doing this freelance videography, video editor journey, I knew one of the reasons why I wanted to do freelance video work was to work on my own projects. And so business has been good this past year. And so I thought, okay, now is a little bit of the right season, I guess, to try and step out and do like a really cool project. And so it was about 3 months in the making, sort of planning and prepping and all that stuff. And in total, we had 21 people that played, and it was probably over the course of like 4 hours that we filmed. And then I have condensed that down into 45 minutes. And it is the structure, I like to say, of a reality show. So I would say like half, like 50% reality show, like 25%. No, let me back up. I would say like 40% reality show, 30% like understanding how to play, sort of like a let's play, and then 30% sort of like a narrative story stylized type of thing. So I'm very excited to be able to show people the video.
Okay, now that is cool. So, being that I have studied marketing, along with everything else. The title Werewolf, is it a correlation to Halloween, or is it only a coincidence?
For sure. So I'm not sure when you'll be releasing this, but we're currently recording it on October 29th. So, like you said, very close to Halloween. And it is not necessarily tied into Halloween, but my birthday is so close to Halloween that I figured it would, the marketing side of me would kick myself for the rest of my life if I didn't have something tied in with Halloween. And so on Halloween, I'm actually going to be posting the trailer for it. So getting a little bit of Halloween audience engagement in there, but other than the name itself, there's no tie-in with Halloween or Halloween-y things.
All right, because I was just a little curious as, maybe, due to the upcoming Halloween in a couple of days, I thought, maybe it's all correlated. Okay, now I have another question off of the interview cards.
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
All right. So, what are the rules of the game, and how many players, and due to COVID, is there a virtual option?
For sure. So, Werewolf or Mafia are they're games that have sort of been around for a while. Originally, Mafia was the game that was created first. I cannot remember the person's name right now, but it was created. And then Werewolf was created from Mafia, sort of like a werewolf theme, because at the time the guy who made the werewolf theme thought it would adapt easier to an American audience. And so, like I said, there's an uninformed majority and an informed minority, whether it be werewolves or mafia, or if you wanted to have like dragons or vampires or whatever. So usually the setting is within this little town or village, whatever you want to set it in. And the easiest thing that you can do is just use playing cards. That's usually what I do if it's like a spur of the moment type of thing that we're playing, just because I've played it enough, I can easily adapt it. So you have a game master, which, I would much rather be the game master than any other role within Werewolf, because otherwise I get too emotionally invested and play a little too hard. Game master doesn't get to play, just gets to guide the game along. And so you have different roles. So you have, like, let's say that we're looking at Werewolf, for example. You have the werewolf role, you have the villager role. So it's sort of like good and bad side, but really there's no good or bad. And then you have the seer, which is going to be on the villager side. And then you have the bodyguard, which is also going to be on the villager side. And there's more roles, but I feel like those are the most easily digestible as far as being able to understand for somebody that's never played before. So let's say you're using a deck of cards to play the game. So I would have all the villagers be a black card, and then I would have the werewolves. Let's say there's 2 werewolves that are playing. Let's say 8 people are playing in total. 8 people are playing in total, gonna have 8 cards. We'll have 4 black cards that are not face cards. And then I'll have, let's say, 2 aces. Those aces will be the werewolf cards. And then I'll have a queen, a black queen, for the seer. And when I say seer, S-E-E-R, think like fortune teller, mystic, something along those lines. And then I'll have a king be the bodyguard. So bodyguard, like the name says, is protecting people. So everyone looks at their card and they like are aware of what their card is. They don't show it to anyone though. And then I have everyone go to sleep. Let me also say one caveat is that there are many different iterations of Werewolf and Mafia where all of them have like slight tweaks. And so I'm someone that, you know, I love games, and so I love to bring in house rules and adapt them to the situation that I feel most conducive to. So there's a few things that I've tweaked with Werewolf. So these are sort of like my rules that I like to follow with Werewolf, but they're pretty genuinely the same. So I have everyone go to sleep, so they put their head down, and then I'll say, werewolves, wake up. So the werewolves will raise up their heads. They will like acknowledge each other, and this is all in silence. They'll acknowledge each other, and then I will say, werewolves, who would you like to kill? So they'll like look around the circle and they'll point to a player. They all have to agree on that player, and then I will acknowledge that I know who they're talking about, and then the werewolves will go to sleep. Then I'll say, bodyguard, wake up. So the bodyguard, there's only one, the bodyguard will raise up their head, look around. I'll ask them, bodyguard, who would you like to save? So they'll point to someone. I will acknowledge that, and then the bodyguard will go to sleep. If the bodyguard selected the person that the werewolves also selected, then nobody dies from the werewolves that night. So then after the bodyguard does their little thing, I'll say, seer, wake up. So the seer will wake up. I'll say, seer, choose someone to ask about. So the seer will look around the circle, and they'll point to someone, and I will give a thumbs up if that person is a werewolf or is not a werewolf. So then the seer will have a little bit of information. They'll find out if someone is a werewolf, if someone is, or they will also find out for sure that someone is not a werewolf. So I'm never going to lie to the seer. So seer can always trust that their information is correct. So then I'll say, okay, seer, go to sleep. Seer will put their head down. Then everyone will wake up. If the bodyguard saved the werewolf's target in the middle of the night, then I would say something like, bodyguard saved someone, yada, yada, whatever. If they did not, then I would say, okay, the werewolves attacked the village in the middle of the night, yada, yada, yada. And then I would say who got killed, if somebody got killed, and then that person would reveal their role. So revealed their role to the village, and then I say, okay, it's time to discuss. So that's when everyone sort of gets to discuss amongst themselves. And then after like 4 or 5 minutes, I will have everyone do a vote. And the person who gets the most votes gets banished from the village. And then that person is then removed from the game, and they reveal their role that they were. And so the goal of the werewolves, well, I'll say the goal of the villagers first. The goal of the villagers is to get rid of all the werewolves. So in this game, there's 2 werewolves, so the village is working to try and get rid of those 2 werewolves. The goal of the werewolves is to make sure the amount of villagers in the game equal the amount of werewolves in the game. So the werewolves are trying to get, in this game scenario, trying to get the villagers down to just having 2 villagers left. If at some point in time the village gets rid of one of the werewolves, then the werewolves have to then get the village down to just being 1 villager left. So it sort of volleys back and forth depending on how well each side is doing. So that is the very general overview for Werewolf. And when I say general, I feel like I probably dove more into it than I should have. And then, I mean, as far as a virtual option goes, there's Among Us right now, which is, I don't know if it's still as popular as it was, but it's very popular. I think it's a great adaptation of it. They add in a few different elements, where they, instead of like a werewolf environment, it's like a space environment. So you are all crewmates on this ship, and there are imposters among you, which I think is like sort of like a fun idea behind it. And there's these like animations of whenever one of the imposters kills someone, it's like almost alien-esque. And then there's there's little tasks that you complete as your team, because you can also lose in other ways as well. That's fun. There is Town of Salem, which I haven't played in a really long time, but it's the same environment as Werewolf. So as far as the thematics go, it's the same. They have a ton of different roles. You can also just like do it over Zoom if you wanted to. Zoom also has an incorporation now where they have an actual like Werewolf plugin. Like they have a few different games on Zoom now, but that's actually one of them where you are actually like playing Werewolf, and it's like designed and has animations and stuff like that. But yeah, they have actual Werewolf Mafia iterations that you can play online and virtual. And then I feel like the game also is pretty conducive to being adapted into a virtual environment.
How cool. Okay, now, you were, liking this to a, to a reality TV show like, our Big Brother, or
Absolutely.
Right, or also Survivor. So I actually have a follow-up question.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do the players learn something different about themselves in this game?
So that is one of the questions that I asked when I was filming Werewolf. One thing that I'm very excited about with this project is before everyone played, I took them one at a time into sort of like a separated place from all the other players. So one at a time I brought them there. I asked them some interview questions, like how many times have they played Werewolf, what they're thinking, the experience is going to be like, things like that. And then I revealed to them what role they were going to be playing as. And then there was like a few other things that we talked about as well, that you will have to watch the video to see. But then after everything was done, I brought back almost all the players. A few of them had to leave, but I brought back pretty much all the players back into that space. And I asked them a few follow-up questions, sort of looking at the game they had just played. And a few of them, I asked them sort of about, do you feel like you learned anything about yourself? Because that is, I think, what really draws me to these social strategy games, whether it be Survivor, Big Brother, The Mole, The Circle, Werewolf, Among Us, things like that, where you are really leveraging social equity to further your placement in the game. And I would say things like Werewolf and Among Us are a little bit different than things like Survivor and Big Brother, The Circle, The Challenge, things like that. Because in those games you are, well, other than a few twists in some seasons, in those games you are playing as yourself. Like if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Whereas in Werewolf and Among Us, you can potentially leverage yourself to almost sacrifice yourself to put attention onto the other side in hopes that it will take down more of those numbers. Because if you could be the first person eaten in Werewolf by the werewolves, several rounds could go by, the village side could get rid of all the werewolves. And even though you got eaten in that first round, your side still wins because you are part of that side. I mean, yes, you didn't make it to round 5 because you got eaten first round, but your side still wins. And so that's what I think is one of the really interesting things to think about with Werewolf. I also think just because so the other day, I think it was last week, I played, and I usually don't play. I usually just watch. So when I said that I have played probably over 100 games, I mean that I have been involved in probably over 100 games. I would say 98% of the time I am being sort of like the dungeon master, game master role, just because that's sort of what I prefer. And so I feel like as a watcher, I can really give a lot of commentary. And I feel like as a player, I also do okay, but I probably go a little overboard. And that's one thing that I realized about myself is like, I don't think I'm that good at playing because I get so like, okay, listen, I don't know if I believe you right now because you just said this and now this seems to conflict with this. And you said you know for sure that this person is doing this, but how do you know for sure? You cannot know 100% for sure right now. So why are you acting like you know for sure? So I don't know if that's necessarily like the over analytical part of my mind or just the gaming part of myself. I don't know. But I think if you play Werewolf enough, you find out fun parts about yourself. I think that's one of the great aspects of the game is that even if you have 10 people that have never played before and you have them sitting in a circle, I think it will start to bring out their personalities. Not even necessarily the more they play, but within the first game. I think from the first round to the last round, because you really have to. You really have to. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, that is just, it's intriguing. It's very interesting. So at the end, you only have just one person who wins?
No, so at the end, a side wins.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So either the villagers will win or the werewolves will win.
Gotcha. All right.
So you could get eaten the very first round, and your side could still win because you were part of the villager side. And I mean, of course, there's this whole idea of, oh, well, I survived until the round that the game finally ended. But if you are a villager and you've lasted until the end, but the werewolves win, you still lose, even though you lasted until the end.
Okay.
So, I mean, not to like be like, oh, you still lost,
right.
But I mean that's the rules. Like you didn't win.
But you hung around, so.
I mean, it goes. I do think it like also requires some social equity and social skill to be able to not be voted out, of course. But if you are not being voted out, how are you then leveraging your position? Because if you're not being voted out and you're staying around, ideally you should now have more information because you're lasting longer than other people. But that's probably like the harsh game show critic in me.
You know what? It's in all of us. So
I just love them. I love game shows.
I'm just keeping it real.
I feel like I'm living this game show host fantasy right now with this microphone.
Just wait until it comes on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
It's The Price is Right with Bob Barker. All right.
Fun. I love it. I love
the show. Okay, so here is the last question on the last question card. So when does the game video launch? And then also down the line, will you be recruiting new participants?
For sure. The game video will launch on November 22nd, so I believe it's 24 days from now. And all the way through November, I will be posting a video every day of each of the players. So I think my cousin Carolyn, I think she's the first video. It's just like a little 30-second teaser of her introducing herself, saying some stuff. I think that they're edited really well. So those will be releasing up to the release of Werewolf on the 22nd. And then as far as future games go, I really am, long answer short, yes. But more realistic answer, I am absolutely going to do it again because I had so much fun. And regardless of the response, I just have enjoyed it so much that I know I'm going to do it again. In a perfect world, the response would be insane, and I'd be like, oh, gonna do a next one again next summer. But, I'm trying to... I have a bad habit of sort of living within a daydream and getting really excited about things and sort of getting myself worked up, whether it be positive or negative. And so I'm trying to just be present and in the moment right now and just be excited yet hopeful that it will... as someone that is creative, I'm sure that you have also had the general idea of, oh, even if I get one view, I'm still really enjoying making this thing and I like creating this thing. But there's also this part of you that's like, but it would be cool if it got 1 million. So
No, I mean you have make a great point. As for Pedro, because I talked about myself in the third person for some reason. It just works on this podcast. For Pedro,
absolutely.
For Pedro, if one person in Thailand or in wherever, if they hear this and if they get value, information, I mean, or just have a sense of, of being a part of a community, then, it's a win. It is a win. However,
absolutely.
I would love to have 1 million downloads. However, I'm not in it for downloads. I'm in it because I want to just share with the whole world, how awesome
absolutely.
And creative that we are, because we are, and this is a prime example. So I have a call to action for all of my listeners, global listeners. Now, as you know, Matt Herdman, I'm in 61 countries on 6 continents.
Pedro, you are
it's a blessing.
International.
It's a blessing. I'm still waiting on that one person from Antarctica, but I'm okay now.
What would you do if one day you looked at your analytics and you saw that it was being listened to in Antarctica?
I would do a happy
would you be
dance.
Confused?
I'd do a happy dance because I can dance, but it would.
There has to be some people in Antarctica.
Well, that's my hope.
They're like some doing something.
Of course.
I would imagine.
It's my hope.
I don't know what they're doing, but some.
I'm always hopeful. So for everyone who's listening right now, I will have the teaser video link on there. So I want for everyone to go and watch it. And then on November 22nd? Yes. I want for everyone to hop on YouTube. Matt Herd, I will have all of the links in the show notes. And so I want for everyone to just go and show Matt some love, a whole bunch of love, because my mantra is always support one another. That is why I'm here. That's the only reason why I am doing this, is because I believe in lifting other people up. That is why I'm here. So I am just so proud of you, Matt Herdman, and I see huge things in your future. I may have a
I
contact
appreciate that, Pedro.
at Big Brother. I'm just
I
saying. I
mean,
may.
do you, hold on. We're going to talk about this afterwards because
I may have a contact because, as you know, I am now heading into voice acting. So I am networking.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah,
I did not know that. Okay, you're gonna have to tell me about this, Pedro.
Okay, I'll be doing a whole other podcast on this, but I believe that there needs to be representation for people who stutter everywhere.
I of course I cannot speak from like a racial background because I've never been anything other than white. But I for people that don't necessarily understand why, and not necessarily just talking about the Little Mermaid, but let's say any characters in general, for people that don't necessarily understand like why do characters need to be different races or whatever, or why even change a character to have another attribute. For me, it's like I am very aware that as a kid, I never saw anyone that stuttered on TV. Not to say that stuttering is the same thing as being a specific race, but I never saw anyone that stuttered on TV or really in anything. I'm sure that I might have, but it never was something that stuck out to me enough. Or if you did, it was something that was made fun of. And so that is, yeah, like what you said, I think having that representation in so many different assets, I think is really important.
Yes. And then also I will be spending the majority of my time in voiceover educating, casting directors and agents,
Absolutely,
on everything all about stuttering, because, knowledge is power. I'm here to raise awareness, and that we are awesome. We are awesome. I want to be in a movie. I want to be in a music video. Just anywhere and anywhere.
I think I talked to you about this last time, but I would say for the last several years, I've wanted to make, I don't know if it's necessarily a movie. I think it would be really conducive for like a TV miniseries called Spit It Out. And I say that because I had a friend who told me to do that whenever I was younger, and I spit on him in the face. And like to this day, I think that's sort of funny. It wasn't good, but that was genuinely what he told me to do. And so I've had this idea in my head of wanting to make, I don't know if necessarily it's like autobiographical, but like taking some things from my life. And basically it is this kid who's in high school and who stutters. And the way that he stops himself from stuttering is by singing. So like imagine Glee, but he's the only one that sings. So like everyone else is like, why are you singing right now? And he's like, because I stutter. So it's like sort of almost like Modern Family comedy-esque. But yeah, it's about a kid who stutters, and he genuinely has a stutter, because I'm sure there are many people out there that do stutter, and I'm sure there are people out there that stutter and also sing. And I just think it's like a fun, weird, quirky idea.
We are creative. And that is the bottom line. The bottom line. Because everyone knows, all my history. They would tell me to spit it out, or slow down, or they would tell me to sing it to me, and it's like, I will get it out. How is it going to come out? I may do an
Absolutely.
accent. It's quite lovely. I mean, I will.
That's pretty fun.
I mean, I will do. And
Pedro, if I make this show happen, you're gonna help me out. I need him to have a scene where he's doing accents.
you know, it's quite lovely. It's from Cockney. It's from the UK. All right. So on that note, I apologize to everyone in the UK. So I want to just say thank you, Matt Herdman. I encourage everyone to hit that YouTube link in the show notes and just. I want you to experience this game called Werewolf because I have never heard of it. You know, I guess I'm from Texas.
I'm excited for you to check it out.
And, we have coyotes, so I don't know. I'm just reaching here.
You could play Coyote. It could be like Coyote and Farmers.
Okay, however, I'm Air Force, and so I'm an indoor person, so I don't really much venture outside. So
you could have... I was going to try and make another joke, but I can't think of anything.
I got you covered. All right. Well,
thank you.
Now, just one last time, how can anyone reach you? What would be the best way?
For sure. So I've got a lot of my projects linked on my website, which is matthewherdman.com. Werewolf will be matthewherdman.com/werewolf. That's MATTHEWHERDMAN. I am also on Instagram as matt.herdman and then TikTok as just Matt Herdman. Not just Matt Herdman, but Matt Herdman without the dot in between. And then I have like a link tree that has some other stuff on there as well. YouTube as Matt Herdman. I'm sure you could find me on other social media platforms as well from random creative ideas that I've had where I'm like, oh, I want to do this thing. But MatthewHerdman.com is probably just the easiest place to go because it has links out to other places on there as well.
All right, Matt. I will have all those links in the show notes. And once again, I thank you, my friend. And I cannot...
Pedro, I appreciate you so much.
Mega dittos, and I cannot wait for November 22, y'all. Come on, November 22.
I know, I'm excited.
I want the whole world.
Let me also just...
The whole world.
Every single person.
I want to break YouTube. I want to break YouTube. Everyone.
I mean, I don't know if that would happen, but we can try.
There are powers
There's only one
in numbers, Mr. Matt Herdman.
I just also want to say between now and 2 years ago, I mean, you were fantastic 2 years ago, but just like the setup that you have now, like, y'all, if you like Pedro's setup, give him a thumbs up. I mean, honestly, he's got his microphone has his logo on it. My microphone has a logo of a company that's not paying me to advertise it. Pedro has his own logo on it. That's impressive.
Well, sir, I am in it to win it. That's all I got to say.
That's good.
All right.
That's good. I love it.
So you have an awesome evening. You
as well, Pedro.
Take care, be well, and stay safe.
You as well. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir.